How's it going, everybody? This is Cameron White with White Light Astrology, giving you guys your monthly forecast. I cannot speak anymore with Mercury being retrograde. Your monthly forecast for December 2018 for Aquarius. So I've been saying this in all my videos. I just want to make sure I say it in this one too. Make sure that you watch these from both your rising and your sun sign. I know a lot of you guys definitely going to be watching this from your sun sign. However, I do write and make all of these horoscopes from the ascendant. So whatever sign I'm talking about, I throw that at the ascendant. So definitely watch these from your rising sign too and your sun sign. So anyway, Aquarius, I guess let's get into the whole month. I guess just to give you a quick general overview over everything. I think this month is going to be, it's not going to be the hardest month in the world, but I do think it's going to cause, there's going to be some challenges that are going to be coming up. They're not the biggest thing in the world. However, it's going to kind of help you get into the space where you've been needing to get into, that you know you've been wanting to get into, and that you've just been having a slow process getting there. So I guess let's go into it. There are 3 major days on or in December. There's December 1st, there's December 7th, and December 22nd. Those are like the big astrology days where we have a lot of transits going on and a lot of other stuff happening. So let's go ahead and get into it with the first big day, December 1st, to start off the month with a bang. We have Mercury retrograding back into Scorpio. So now the Mercury was in your 11th house in Sagittarius, you know, things dealing with friends, things dealing with your networks and who you're, you know, kind of surrounding yourself with, as well as the 11th house has to do with, you know, philanthropic work or philanthropy and humanitarian stuff. With Mercury retrograding right there, you might have had a reset or a reshift in your perception with who your associates are or who you're really wanting to involve yourself with. And as Mercury comes back into Scorpio, into your 10th house of your career, your public vocation, how everything kind of looks on the outside, with Mercury going back into Scorpio, I think this is when I don't want to say the confusion, but Mercury started its shadow in Scorpio. So we're talking about themes of your career and really your perception of what you want to communicate, what you want to express, and being more pinpointed on that truth. As Mercury went to Sagittarius, as you kind of spread that message to your friends and maybe it wasn't the right thing that you were really wanting to convey or really speak out, as Mercury goes back into Scorpio, I think this is when you're going to start becoming a lot more clear about that truth and that message that you want to portray, that you want to communicate, that you want to speak from. So I think Mercury going back into Scorpio is going to help you get that clarity, but Mercury is still retrograde. So we're still not really done with this stuff, but as Mercury goes back into Scorpio, I do think that you're going to be getting a lot more of an insight, a lot more of clarity, and a raw and a real fashion, because it is Mercury in Scorpio. Also on December 1st, we have the Sun squaring Mars. The Sun's going to be at 9 Sag, Mars is going to be at 9 Pisces. This is a continuation of the, you know, Mars cycle that we've been going through with Mars is retrograde, with the eclipses over the summer. Excuse me. Mars is squared to the Sun is kind of like, well, now that Mars is in Pisces and he's in your 2nd house, you know, be careful with spending on money or like partying and spending money. You could be going a lot with that. Mars in your 2nd house is kind of like, you know, kind of stemming away from, you know, what you really want to possess, what you really want to own, and kind of searching more of having a deeper connection with your possessions, having a deeper connection and a more of a purposeful meaning with the things that you value, the things that you own, the money that you make. So with Mars squaring the Sun, while the Sun is in Sagittarius, it's wanting you to expand, it's wanting you to create, it's wanting you to blossom and have abundance in your 11th house of your friendships, of your networks, of your groups. But I think as Mars is squaring your 2nd house, I think this is going to be a big time to really look at it in a sense of, hey, are these friends, am I kind of going overboard with them? Am I spending too much money with them? Is it too much of a hectic environment? Or maybe do you need to kind of research and, not necessarily research, but really reach out to your friends and look at, hey, who are you connecting yourself with? Are they on that path of, you know, bringing you up to a higher space, bringing you up to another level? And as Mars's, you know, transit through Pisces in your 2nd house, is that something that's coming towards, you know, I should say, is that looking as if Mars is kind of cutting away your finances, like things are being eaten up? Or is Mars and Pisces in your 2nd house really helping you look at different ways to connect yourself to money, different ways to connect yourself to material possessions, Mars is, you know, severing and cutting, but he's also this energizer. He wants you to move forward in a certain direction. And as he's in Pisces in that second house, this is kind of finding your way through, okay, you know, what's mine, what's theirs, what do I want, what connection do I have with what I want? And as Mars squares the sun, I think this is just going to be a big time to realize, you know, who are you connecting yourself with, and how is that affecting your income and what you really have? What can you grow, or who can support you in growth in terms of what you have and what you possess? Also on the first, we have Venus opposing Uranus. So Venus is going to be at 29 Libra, and Uranus is going to be at 29 Aries. And now that Uranus has dipped back into your third house of, you know, siblings, close immediate environment, brothers, stuff like that, it's also about, you know, communication and, you know, speech, your mindset, written stuff. Uranus comes back into there where Uranus is kind of bringing things out of left and right field. Venus is direct in your 9th house, in her, you know, domicile of Libra. And as Venus is in Libra in your 9th house, this has been a kind of a very spiritual reflection of, you know, Venus going into Scorpio. You were set out and hell-bent on something you may want to started in your career, or bringing things to materialize in your career. And as Venus went back into Libra, it had to be a mindset shift of what your beliefs are as far as value goes. And as Venus goes to the end of Scorpio, or end of Libra, oh my gosh, I cannot talk today. As Venus goes to the end of Libra, and she opposes Uranus, I think this is going to be one of those breakthrough moments where you kind of realize and understand just really how to utilize, you know, that sense of value and that sense of, you know, spiritual value that you've kind of obtained over the past couple of weeks with this Venus retrograde. So, you know, be prepared for insights and stuff kind of just coming out of left field as far as spiritual things go, and especially with beliefs about yourself and the relationship that you have with yourself. So then after that, on December 2nd, we do have Venus going back into Scorpio. So Venus in Scorpio in your 10th house, you know, there was something that you wanted to achieve that you were really looking at that was both good and bad in terms of career, your public vocation, what you're kind of doing. Venus kind of got intimidated and scared. She went back into Libra, where she went into your 9th house. You had to learn more about the relationship with yourself, the value of yourself when it comes to spiritual beliefs, and maybe wanting to learn and grow more in that terms. As Venus goes into Scorpio, though, she's still in shadow. She's been over this part before. But what's important is that now that she's back in Scorpio and she's charged up from being in Libra, this is going to be the time where those career changes that you wanted to see, and it's not necessarily big, you know, huge changes, but more of a Venusian attitude, you know, kind of focusing and pinpointing a specific thing that you value, something that you're really good at, something that means a lot to you. As Venus goes back into Scorpio, I think this is just going to be bringing that up again, and you're going to have a better vision of it. You're going to have a better scope of things. You're going to be able to really apply, you know, that sense of worth, that sense of belief that you guys have been through, and really apply that in terms of your career setting. It is Venus in Scorpio still, so it's not going to look amazing or anything like that. But as Venus goes back into Scorpio, I think this is going to be a big time to focus on the little things that you really want to see manifest in that career realm. Moving forward, we get a couple days off until December 7th. That's the second big day. And on December 7th, we have Mars conjuncting Neptune. And I think this is going to be a big deal for you, because as Mars conjuncts Neptune, where Mars has been in your second house, where it's kind of like money's kind of coming in, coming out, you know, it could be spending a little bit more, kind of like, you know, want to own something, maybe not want to own something, your material possessions could be bothering you. As Mars hits Neptune, I think this is going to become really clear of like, oh, this is where my finances are being drained at. This is where, you know, this is when it comes to your material possessions with your money, with what you own and what you want to have. Mars hitting Neptune, I think, is going to help you guys become very clear about distincting or making clear. I just cannot talk today. I'm so sorry. Mars hitting Neptune is kind of like being clear and knowing where to draw the line with what the problem is. Mars hitting Neptune is going to make things abundantly clear with where the issues are and where you need to disconnect yourself from and where you need to apply more of yourself. So definitely know that on Mars hitting Neptune, you're going to be very clear about what your next step is with your finances, with your money, what you want to own and have. But this is the big thing, is that on December 7th, we're having a new moon in Sagittarius, and Mercury goes direct in Scorpio. So I think as we have this new moon in Sagittarius in your 11th house, where this is clearing out the energy and setting those new intentions with your friends, your associates, the big groups of people that you hang out with, With Mercury going direct in Scorpio, I think this is when you're going to get that scope dialed in, and you're going to have a very clear shot of what your aims are in terms of career and in terms of what you're kind of doing in this world and how you're portraying that, how you're communicating that, and having the friends and having the groups of people to reset that energy and attitude towards, and, you know, share with them those experiences and share with them where you're going with that. And as Mars hits Neptune, I think you're going to understand where exactly you need to place your, not necessarily your value, but your energy in terms of what it is that you have. Like Mars in the second house is kind of like you're running low on resources, so get creative. And as Mars hits Neptune, I think that realization of being low on resources is going to kind of hit you. And as it's squaring the sun, and as this new moon happens and Mercury goes direct, I think you're going to have a very big wind of clarity of what to do next and how to get yourself out of that situation. So that is going to be really, really good. I just know that December 7th is going to be pretty big for you guys. December 9th, moving forward, that's the next day. Chiron goes direct. Not a big deal, honestly, as Chiron's in your second house. That's kind of like, you know, it's really not even that big of a deal. I'm not even going to talk about it. December 12th, though, we have Mercury going back into Sagittarius. So as Mercury's been in Scorpio, where it's, you know, scoped in and it's dialed in on the exact truth, on the exact message that it wants to portray, and it has the emotional revelation that it experiences with it, Mercury in Sagittarius goes about and shares that story with the people that it surrounds itself with. So as Mercury goes back into Sagittarius, where it's been here before, it's still in shadow, but it is direct now, and it is, you know, back in Sagittarius. I think this is going to be the time of, you know, these new career, I keep saying this new career stuff. I don't think it's really new career stuff, but I think it's amplification of career attributes. I think Mercury in Sagittarius is kind of like, hey, now that you're more clear and distinct about what you really want to communicate, share that with your friends. Don't, you know, blow yourself over the water. Don't blow it into a bigger proportion that, you know, than it is. With Mercury in Sagittarius, just express it, freely express it and share it with your friends. Be more connected to it. Be more faithful with what it is that you're expressing, and don't necessarily worry about the exact verbiage of what you're saying. More worry about the message that is being implied with that. So that is going to be really, it's not going to be the biggest thing in the world because it is 11th house stuff. It has more to do with your friends than it has more to do with you per se. So just know that that's happening. But then on December 17th, 5 days later, we have Venus going out of shadow. She leaves her shadow. So with what we talked about, Venus being in Libra and she's going direct in that relationship with yourself that you've built on a spiritual level and realizing that value. Venus went into Scorpio where she's, you know, ready to apply it in the career sense, ready to, you know, fixate on, you know, what it is that she wants and being able to manifest that. Now that Venus is out of shadow, she's on her own. You know, she's already, when she's going through shadow, she's already been over that part before. So now that she's out of shadow, she's really on her own, and she's going through this forest with tenacity, with bravery. And I think Venus in Scorpio is applying something that she really wants to do, and it's something that she's passionate about doing. And I don't think she really knows exactly what it's going to look like manifested. But as Venus leaves shadow and she's in Scorpio, this is the time to really go, to really place your value in your career in specific points. Like, what are the goods? What are the bads? You've looked at that, and not even in a career sense. The 10th house is also kind of like the public eye, how everything kind of looks on the outside. So as Venus goes through Scorpio and she's out of shadow now, this is going to be the time to really direct your energy towards the things that matter to you. Don't waste your time with the bullshit and really just cut away from that. Focus and apply yourself and bring more love into the things that bring meaning to you, that bring more of an essence of power and fruition and abundance to your life. So as Venus goes out of shadow, this is going to time to be direct and really apply yourself in the things that you want to do, even though it's kind of scary and you're not really sure what it's supposed to look like. So moving forward, though, on the 20th, Venus will trine Neptune. And so as Venus is now out of shadow and Scorpio and she trines Neptune, which is in your second house, I think this is going to be a lot better for money, where now that you're making these career changes and you're kind of amplifying that energy, I think the whole money situation of the possibilities that are there are going to become very aware. You're going to become very aware of the possibilities that are going to be created with that. So it's not necessarily like, oh, you're going to win the lottery or anything like that. But as Venus moves forward and trines Neptune, I think you're going to have an opportunity to really see what can be created as far as both finances and in the finance realm with your career, with what you're applying and what you're starting to do now. Moving forward, on the next day, these are the kind of the big days of the month. On the 21st, we have Mercury conjuncting Jupiter. So as Mercury is going through Sagittarius, wanting to express and share with its friends, Mercury's going to hit Jupiter, where Jupiter wants to bring you the friends, wants to bring you the close groups and other people that are sharing your beliefs, sharing your philosophy, sharing your faith, and sharing your optimism with the world. And I know you guys are Aquarius suns or rising, so I know that's sometimes difficult, but as Mercury hits Jupiter, I think this is going to be a big time where when you consult and you communicate and you share with your friends, I think the whole idea of your networks and your groups of people and the people that you associate with are really going to be there to give you the big, the abundance that you want. Jupiter's being represented as your friends right now, and Mercury's kind of that megaphone to it. So as Jupiter is going through Sagittarius and friends are coming more about, you're getting more of the people and surrounding yourself more with the people that you want, Mercury is basically just saying, like, make sure you're aware of that. Make sure you're applying that. Make sure you're, aware of it, but communicating it and expressing it. And as Mercury hits Jupiter, I really think this is going to be a big time to really see the opportunity that is your networks, that is your associates. After that, though, we have the third and final big day of December, and we have the sun going into Capricorn, we have the moon going into Cancer, we have the full moon in Cancer, and we have the beginning of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Because I'm counting it at a 10-degree orb, only because Saturn's going to start flying forward after this, and by April and May, he'll be 3 degrees away from Pluto. So the Saturn-Pluto conjunction begins basically then, on the 22nd. And on the 22nd, the sun's going to go into your 12th house. The moon is going to go, there's going to be a full moon in Cancer, which is in your 6th house. And I think this is going to be a really, really big thing. I mean, it is for everybody, but I know for you guys, as the sun goes into the 12th house, where the 12th house is about secrets, hidden enemies, repressed and unacknowledged parts of yourself, the subconscious. And as the sun goes into the Capricorn, where the sun is trying to create framework, the sun in Capricorn is wanting to solidify and create some structure around and kind of limit things. As the sun goes into the 12th house, I think you're going to start bringing up things that you weren't necessarily aware of, that you've been repressing. Saturn is there, Pluto is there. Your whole subconscious mind is a very big thing for you right now. But I think what's going to happen is when the moon goes into Cancer and we have this full moon in Cancer happening on this day, the moon being in Cancer, this is highlighting trust. This is bringing light to, where you need to protect yourself, where you need to nurture yourself, where you need to console with. And as it goes into your 6th house of your work, of your routine, of your health, of your everyday habits, I think this full moon in Cancer is going to make you really be clear and realize what the issues are that are coming from you. And not from everybody else, but where you are getting in your own way, and what problems that were deep-seated in you that you can repress and that sometimes you don't acknowledge. I think they're going to come out very much alive, and I think you're going to have an emotional connection with knowing what you need to do and knowing your next step. This is going to be like it's not like, oh my gosh, I'm ready, I know what my next step is. It's more of like, oh shit, like this is hardcore, these are my next steps because this is what I need. So as the moon goes into Cancer and we have this full moon, it is going to be rough, but I want you guys to take this with seriousness. You guys are Aquarius risings. You're Saturn-ruled people. You know how to do that, but also realize at the same time that this moon in Cancer is talking about what your needs are. And I don't think that you guys should repress or ignore what those needs are. And I think this is going to be a big time to trust the process and to really dive into how you can really change those habits every single day and really put in, a new type of routine, a new type of healthy mindset that is more in accordance with helping you, with nurturing you, with, protecting who you are and what you have. So I do believe that this full moon in Cancer is going to be pretty rough for the most part, but I do think that it's going to be a very eye-opening experience with what needs to be done. And if you guys take that raw Saturn energy that's coming in with it very seriously, I think you guys are going to have the right mindset to move forward with. So with this full moon in Cancer, be prepared for things being very raw and real and serious, but also be excited to move forward and start really giving yourself the nurturing that you need. After that, Mercury's going to leave shadow and square Neptune on Christmas Eve. So, yeah, Mercury's now, he conjunct Jupiter, high five, whoop-de-doo, cool, your friends are all there for you. But as Mercury goes through Sagittarius and squares Neptune again, it's all about, what are your friends? Where are they a resource to you? Are your friends a resource to you? Are they giving to you? Do they help you? Or is it just kind of a blur? Is it just kind of a fog? Mercury going through your 11th house as it squaring Neptune, the whole friendship thing's going to just be kind of up and down for a minute as Mercury goes through there, so don't worry about it too much. But just know that the happiness and the awesomeness of Mercury hitting Jupiter is not going to last forever, and that's going to end when Mercury squares Neptune and goes out of shadow. So with that being said, but also don't forget, keep communicating, keep being out there with your friends. But then after that, Mars is going to hit Chiron on December 29th. That's cool. I think that's going to make you guys feel a lot more comfortable with your finances and start really taking the action that you really need to when it comes to healing yourself and healing your finances. Like, what are your spending habits? What are you really pouring yourself into, and making sure there's like a lid on that, you know, kind of training yourself to not spend the money that you want to spend, but you really can't maybe right now. But then after that, we go into January 1st and the sun hits Saturn, Mars goes into Aries, and we're off to a huge new year. So honestly, I really think December for you guys is going to be, you know, more of what you saw. But I think as time continues and we have this full moon in Cancer, I think it's going to be a lot more real and serious than you thought it was originally. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, Saturn conjunct Pluto and this full moon in Cancer is happening for all of us. It's just going to look like for you guys, really starting to reconstruct your subconscious and your beliefs about yourself and the things that you repress, knowing that that's not what you need anymore, and you need to start going towards fixing and healing the things that need to nurture you and applying that in your every single day routine. And it's going to be pretty real and raw and serious. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching and liking and commenting and sharing and subscribing and everything, and I'll be seeing you guys for next month's horoscopes.